Hello and welcome. Tonight, former INEC chairman Professor Tahiru Jega blows hot, slams constitutional provision prohibiting use of technology in elections, saying dominant political parties are leading Nigeria astray. Ahead of the PDP National Convention at the end of this month, some members of the party's convention committee hint on consensus chairmanship candidate. The president restates his administration's commitments to tackling insecurity as he challenges new military officers to stick to professionalism. And Austria's leader, Sebastian Kurz, resigns following pressure over a corruption scandal as he denies claims that he used government money.
On business news tonight, federal government has set up panel for the recovery of unremitted royalties, taxes in the oil and gas industry.
And on sports news tonight, the Super Eagles of Nigeria seek redemption in Sunday's 2022 FIFA World Cup qualifier against the Central African Republic in Douala.
Former chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Professor Tahiru Jega, has slammed the constitutional provision that prohibits use of technology in elections. He's asking the National Assembly to remove the legal encumbrances to allow for deployment of electronic voting in the country. Professor Jega stated his position during a public lecture in Ilorin, the Kwara State capital, where he also took a swipe at the two leading parties in the country.
So many Nigerians who are saying let's do electronic voting are blaming INEC for not trying to do electronic voting. But there is a legal provision that says electronic voting is prohibited. So now people are hoping that the National Assembly will remove that encumbrance, not necessarily for INEC to plunge in electronic voting in 2023 or before then, but at least they will now begin to identify the different electronic voting systems, to identify which are adaptable, to find out which they can begin piloting, and so on and so forth. Things that they could not do before because of that legal hindrance. And then people are saying, in any case, electronic transmission of results is easier to deploy. It's more cost effective compared to use of electronic voting. You know, so why not begin with electronic transmission of results? The current so-called two dominant parties, in particular the APC and the PDP, with their faulty recruitment and leadership selection processes, who have shared power and have tended to lead Nigeria, I'm sorry to say, astray in the past 21 years, are becoming incapable of the directing Nigerian political and governance processes in the right direction. The dominant elite in these parties are self-centered, are preventing the few good ones amongst them to be impactful. They are also fractious and quarrelsome and lacking even in what I call enlightened self-interest. Because sometimes you sacrifice your personal interest in order for the system to stabilize, to legitimize. So we need to create a new special purpose vehicle or even new special purpose vehicles, but that can go into alliance and work together in order to free our country from the stranglehold placed on it by reckless, vigilance, and parochial politicians.
More in politics. In order to produce credible candidates for the 2023 general elections, political parties will have to prioritize internal democracy ahead of the polls. Well, this is a position of the European Center for Electoral Support, as well as the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies, NIPS, as both organizations made their views known at a dialogue in Abuja on political parties and democratic stability in Nigeria. According to the project director of the European Center, political parties must demonstrate by their actions that they are committed to democratic stability.
It is the annual dialogue with leaders of political parties in Nigeria and the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, organized by the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies. The focus for this year is on preparations for the 2023 general elections and democratic stability.
This summit provides a platform for stakeholders, political party leaders, the Independent National Electoral Commission, to dialogue and strategize on critical issues that may set the tune for the 2023 general elections, particularly as they relate to democratic stability of our dear country, Nigeria.
To achieve democratic stability, the country coordinator for the European Center for Electoral Support urges political parties to deepen internal democracy.
Political parties must continuously demonstrate in words and in actions an abiding commitment to democratic stability, which materializes through internal democracy, promotion of democratic values, and fair and peaceful participation into the electoral process.
Many political parties in Nigeria are already strategizing for the next general elections in 2023. But much of the successes of that election will depend on how the political parties handle their internal affairs.
As we approach 2023, we must, all of us, know that if the dynamics of our internal operations within the parties don't become themselves democratized, we can jeopardize the future of 2023.
And we're working to see how we can have a much more democratic, acceptable and a unifying primaries that will now lead to emergence of credible candidates for all the various elections. That's the key thing, because once we have credible internal primaries in place, it will help a long way to reduce the tension and the misunderstanding and divisions that are inherent in each of the political parties.
The lack of internal democracy has been a major challenge with many political parties in Nigeria, with aggrieved members cross-carpeting or seeking redress in the courts, situations that have in some cases overturned elections results.
It's barely 3 weeks to the National Convention of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, and some members of the convention committee are considering the option of a consensus chairmanship candidate, as the party's constitution allows the practice. The chairman of the convention organizing committee, Governor Ahmadu Fintiri, says it's too early to discuss consensus, but maintains that the party's constitution makes provision for the idea.
Early for us to discuss consensus at this stage, because this is a democratic party. It is opened for contest, and if the issue of consensus so arises, also it is captured in our constitution.
And speaking to journalists after a meeting in Abuja, the governor of Bauchi State, Senator Bala Mohammed, canvasses for a consensus candidate, just as he warns the party against imposition should the idea of consensus fail.
Democracy is about consensus, but certainly election and electoral processes can be reduced by having a converging point on an individual, and that would have reduced the disparaging issues within the party. The ideal thing is to have a consensus candidate where we will not have consensus, we will not practice imposition or impunity. Election will be conducted thoroughly. But we have seen that we have resolved the issue of zoning. PDP is a matured party. We have always done it within the experiences that our people have garnered over the years and what we have been able to do for this country. We have learned our mistakes, and we are not going to play to the gallery the way and manner our detractors or our competitors want us to be. We will always resolve our issues. So zoning is over. We have really come over this issue. What we are looking forward is to the emergence of a chairman from the north who will give us the leadership that we require to form a government in 2023.
Away from politics to security now, Nigeria may have faced some of its greatest challenges, especially with regard to insecurity in recent times. But the president says his administration is equally resolved to tackling them head-on. President Muhammadu Buhari gave this assurance while addressing graduating military cadets of the 68th regular course during their passing out parade from the Nigeria Defense Academy in Katsina. He also said the country has recently received new equipment to boost the nation's military arsenal in the fight against terrorism, banditry, and politically motivated killings across the country. The president's speech and charge to the newly commissioned officers came after he inspected the Guard of Honor, which is mounted by the officers. A total of 260 cadets of 68 regular course, comprising personnel of the Army, Navy and the Air Force being commissioned as officers. This passing out parade marks the successful completion of 6 years of military and academic training and also signals the beginning of their sojourn in the armed forces. The president arrives in Kaduna State for the colorful event and proceeds to inspect the parade as a reviewing officer. Other dignitaries present include the host governor, Nasir El-Rufai, all the service chiefs, top military officers and heads of security agencies. The new officers display a colorful march past in both slow and quick time to the admiration of dignitaries present. During their training, they were exposed to rigorous routines in basic military subjects and outdoor exercises, including counterinsurgency operations. And those who have distinguished themselves also receive awards from the reviewing officer. While congratulating the new officers, President Buhari says his administration will not be distracted from achieving the main thrust of his mandate, which includes tackling insecurity, fighting corruption, and stabilizing the economy.
I assure you that this government will not be distracted from achieving the main thrust upon which we were elected, which is addressing the issues of insecurity, corruption, and the economy. I must also emphasize here that for us to achieve peaceful, prosperous, democratic country that will attract foreign investors, we must be law-abiding, committed, and promoters of peaceful coexistence.
He also urges the officers to play their roles in tackling the prevailing security challenges confronting the nation.
Graduating officer cadets, the world which you are entering is very different from that which confronted many of your predecessors. The contemporary security environment has been described as violent, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. You can therefore expect that the missions that you will be tasked to undertake will be similarly complex.
The Nigerian Defense Academy was established in 1964 to provide primary military officer training to the Nigerian Armed Forces. And since inception, the Academy has graduated over 19,000 military officers, including those from neighboring African countries. Speaking of the military, the Nigerian Army has inaugurated 2 court-martials in the northeast to prosecute offences committed in the theatre of operations. The theatre commander of the Joint Task Force of the Northeast Operation Hadin Kai, Major General Christopher Musa, performed the ceremony in Maiduguri today. The 2 court-martials are to be cited at the operational headquarters in Maiduguri and Damaturu. Major General Musa says while the military high command empathizes with personnel who will be punished for their offences as the war is being prosecuted, it has become necessary to enforce internal discipline in accordance with extant laws. In part 2, after the break, Governor Umahi promises 2 million naira reward for information leading to the arrest of those behind attacks on individuals and public facilities in the southeast. Stay with us. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10, live from Channels Television, Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Former INEC chairman Professor Tahiru Jega blows hot, slams constitutional provision prohibiting use of technology in elections, saying dominant political parties are leading Nigeria astray. Ahead of the PDP National Convention at the end of this month, some members of the party's convention committee hint on consensus chairmanship candidate. And the president restates his administration's commitment to tackling insecurity as it challenges new military officers to stick to professionalism. And Austria's leader, Sebastian Kurz, resigns following pressure over corruption scandal as he denies claims he used government money. A cash reward of 2 million naira has been pledged by the Ebonyi State Governor for anyone who offers useful information that would lead to the arrest of those championing the cause of insecurity in the zone. The State Governor, David Umahi, who is also the chairman of the Southeast Governors Forum, announced this during a prayer summit organized by the state government in Abakaliki, the state capital. The event is holding to seek divine intervention to stem the tide of insecurity in the country and in the southeast region in particular.
The high-level insecurity in parts of the country and the southeast in particular has been a cause for concern for the people of Ebonyi, who are gathered here at the State Ecumenical Center in Abakaliki to seek the face of God on the matter. The prayer summit, coming at the instance of the wife of the president, Aisha Buhari, is to bring people together to offer prayers to God for his intervention to restore peace to all parts of the country. The wife of the state governor, Mrs. Rachel Umahi, speaks on the need for intensified prayers at a time such as this.
Let us therefore pray with faith and sincere heart. The wife of the president has requested that we should not just pray today, but continue to pray constantly in our different homes, offices, groups. God does not abandon his people, and he cannot abandon us.
Officiating minister, who is the chairman of the Christian Association of Nigeria, Southeast Zone, Reverend Father Abraham Nwali, believes God is able to restore normalcy in the country.
The federal government cannot secure my village because they have insufficient personnel. The state government cannot secure every church because their hands are full. The church cannot secure the individual families. They will not be there at dinner quarrels. It is a collective responsibility. Wherever you are, be a vanguard of peace and be a very intelligent officer. Let us jointly seek for peace.
Governor of Ebonyi State, David Umahi, begins his speech calling for a minute's silence for the peaceful repose of those who have lost their lives due to the insecurity in the country. He then announces a cash reward for anyone who offers useful information that could lead to the arrest of those involved in the killings.
It's time for us to rise up. We know these people. They're in houses, they're in the forest. Give us information. And every information leads to arrest of any killer. We have a reward, cash reward, and secret reward of not less than 2 million.
This one-day intercessory session is considered timely, and as the event winds down, it is hoped that the prayers will bring about the much-needed peace to Ebonyi State and Nigeria at large.
To the South-South region now. In pursuit of a more equitable federal system, the people of the region are demanding a special status in the revenue sharing formula for Cross River State, as well as a review of the items on the exclusive legislative list to give more responsibilities and financial inclusion to states and local government. These were parts of the requests made in a joint memo presented on behalf of the states, local government and people of the region at a public hearing on the review of the nation's revenue allocation formula for the South-South zone in Port Harcourt, River State. The region also wants the allocation accruing to the federal government reviewed downward.
It's the final day of the South-South Zone public hearing to the nation's revenue sharing formula, which has been in place for 29 years. The event is holding in Port Harcourt, the River State capital. The forum has been set up in line with the constitutional mandate to review the revenue allocation formula and principles in operation from time to time. The 6 states in the South-South region present one document on behalf of the people of the region. Some of their demands include the creation of a special fund to manage environmental pollution, the granting of a special status to Cross River State, and a memo recommending a downward review of the revenue allocation to the federal government.
The country is avidly aware that the Bakassi Peninsula, with several oil wells, were ceded to Cameroon by the federal government of Nigeria, following the implementation of the Green Trade Agreement. This has adversely affected the economy and survival of Cross River State. And accordingly, we are requesting and recommending that a special status be created for Cross River State and a special fund of 1.5% of the Federation account be made and given to them.
The civil societies represented also have their own demands.
The Petroleum Industry Act presented a unique opportunity for Nigeria to construct a bridge between the fossil fuel dependency era and the low-carbon energy future. But unfortunately, we missed that opportunity. This is another opportunity presenting itself, that we can use the revenue allocation formula to address Nigeria's blindness to the energy transition.
Meanwhile, the chairman of the Revenue Mobilization Allocation and Fiscal Commission believes this process will not fail, unlike previous efforts.
We are extending consultations and sensitization, and we are happy that more people are getting more interested. And so, because of that interest, they will really be supportive to ensure that the process is concluded. I'm confident that this time around we'll conclude it.
Nigerians are not only expecting a successful process, but an acceptable outcome that will lead to a new revenue sharing formula for the country.
And in Lagos, the Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice, Mr. Moyosore Onigbanjo, has been given insights into the administration of Criminal Justice Amendment Law of Lagos State 2021, which was recently assented by Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu. The senior advocate of Nigeria says the law is in line with global best practices and key innovative provisions have been introduced as amendments to it. In an interview with our judiciary correspondent, Shola Shoele, the Attorney General notes that the law has further promoted the rights of victims and suspects while addressing issues of delay as well as strengthening the justice system.
As at when Mr. Governor gave his assent, suspects can no longer be paraded before the media again in Lagos State. We did this, we settled for this in line with global best practices. We're not saying that the media cannot report or cover defendants or suspects, but what we're saying is that it is wrong for the police to line up defendants or suspects and then say these are the people who committed such and such a crime. They've not been tried and it's prejudicial, so that has been dealt with. There's also Section 370 which deals of what talks about establishment of a crime data register. So we need to know the people who are offending in our society. We need to be able to know through background checks. If you want to employ somebody, has this person ever been convicted of a crime before? Has this person been involved in any form of child molestation or abuse? So the crime data register will go a long way to give confidence to employers, give confidence to people who want to engage nannies, people who want to engage drivers, security men, across the entire strata, even to our educational institutions, they will be able to do a background checks on all their employees to ensure that the children are in safe hands, in the hands of their employees.
Staying in Lagos, the government is appealing to beneficiaries of the rent-to-own housing scheme to make their payment at the appropriate time. The general manager of the State Mortgage Board, Bayowa Forsyth, says it's important that the payments are made on time so other ongoing housing projects across the state can be completed. Mr. Forsyth was speaking at the second Stakeholders Forum on Maintenance and Safety at the Lukweju scheme.
It's another Lagos Homes Stakeholders Forum, this time at the Lukweju scheme. Lukweju is listed amongst the first set of Lagos State rent-to-own housing schemes, which kicked off in September 2014 with 120 units. Even though the residents will be completing their payments in the next 3 years, the State Mortgage Board is here to engage them on the need to finalize all bills promptly.
But from the beginning of the contract, all party knows their do's and don'ts in terms of what's your premium going to be. So it's a determinant of what is the sum assured, multiplied by a specific rate that needs to be charged on it. And it's either you pay monthly, or you pay quarterly, or you pay annually.
The general manager of the Lagos State Mortgage Board says the rent-to-own scheme requires 5% equity contribution by anyone to own a home.
Your repayments, whatever the situation may be, try as much as possible the next probably 36 months to make sure that payments are paid as at when due. Because these payments actually go into a dedicated account for onward construction around the 5th division of Lagos.
Another vital issue touched on is safety and fire prevention.
Let children know that in case of emergency, move out of the building. Move out of the building. Also, we say gas cylinders, as has been said earlier, are supposed to be installed outside the kitchen.
And some residents are trained on how to handle safety and fire prevention any incident.
Direct, move a little closer. Direct. Yes, let's clap for her.
After the discussions, the general manager gives assurances of more housing schemes for other interested individuals.
For those who have not benefited, the chances are very, very high. Mr. Governor has said he's going to build more and more. I've explained earlier on, Shangote do 744. Lagosians are going to benefit from it. Ayodelu 660. Lagosians are the ones to benefit from it. Pay your tax.
The administration of Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has delivered over 10 housing schemes, an initiative designed to reduce the deficit in Lagos. And the State Mortgage Board says it will continue to engage allottees on maintenance and safety of their properties.
When the news at 10 returns, Northeast Development Commission to build 500 housing units in Gombe State. Plus, federal government to set up panel for the recovery of unremitted royalties and taxes in the oil and gas industry. That's on Business News. Join us again. In keeping with its mandate of bringing back the Northeast to its former glory, the Northeast Development Commission has rolled out a number of intervention programs in Gombe State. These include the commencement of work on 500 housing units and distribution of equipment for agriculture. The state government says Gombe has been a home for displaced persons in the region and will remain a shining example of peace and development in the Northeast.
Members of the Northeast Development Commission Board, federal lawmakers and other dignitaries hosted by Governor Inuwa Yahya of Gombe State as they witnessed the groundbreaking of 500 new homes in Gombe State. This project, which provides mass housing for families in the Northeast affected by insurgency, among several other interventions, is in line with the Commission's mandate of rebuilding, reintegrating and rehabilitating ravaged communities.
Our mandate has been to key into all development of the 3 states that make up the zone, be it on the educational ground, agricultural, road rehabilitations, food for the destitute, and so on. Now we are here in continuation of this.
The managing director of the NEDC highlights some of the successes recorded by the Commission since it began its rebuilding efforts.
Today, we are realizing the actualization of this commitment by the foundation laying ceremony of 250 houses here in this very place by His Excellency, the Zoo Governor of Gombe State, while the balance of 250 will be spread among other cities in the state. The following socio-economic facility will also be provided in this estate: recirculated water supply, lighting, and commercial spaces, among others.
Gombe State Governor Inuwa Yahya gives assurances to the Commission that all interventions will go to the most affected.
I would like to assure the NEDC and the management, especially the board, that whatever they bring to Gombe will definitely get to those people that need it as a priority, a purpose, the displaced persons and those that have great incapacity that enables them, that doesn't enable them to partake on their businesses or activities.
Other interventions from the NEDC include distribution of food and non-food items, rehabilitation of moribund farm centers, ICT training aimed at ensuring infrastructural and economic development of the region.
And elsewhere, the Katsina state government has affirmed its commitment to partner with Doctors Without Borders to strengthen the health sector in the state. This pledge was made by the Commissioner for Health, Yakubu Danja, when he launched stationary and mobile intensive therapeutic feed-in centers located at Kofasori. According to Mr. Danja, a significant number of children under 5 years in both northern and western parts of the country that present to hospitals have a background of malnutrition.
Health sector is a sector where there are so many demands in so many areas. One of the areas is the area of malnutrition. And children that are not well nourished, will not have good health and will not have good access to education. That is the repercussion. State government has been doing a lot to ensure that we curb this serious illness or menace, if I can call it menace. However, things are too many for the state to handle alone. It is a very good intervention coming from Sans Frontier to ensure that they complement the efforts of the state government in ensuring that malnourished children are well treated so that they will have good health to access their education.
So labour matters. At least 20% of the full-time workforce in Nigeria lost their jobs during the COVID-19 pandemic last year. Now, this is according to a new report which was jointly released by the United Nations Development Programme, UNDP, and the National Bureau of Statistics. Now, while policymakers have come up with interventions on how to boost economic activities, families affected by the job cuts are gradually adjusting to life 1 year on.
Meet John Paul Onwocho, a father of 4 who worked for a private firm for over 13 years before he was affected by the job cuts as a result of the impact of COVID-19. He is amongst over 300,000 staff who lost their jobs at the firm.
Excellent. So how are you? How are you?
Just like many others who have lost their jobs, he recounts how he is gradually adjusting to life.
My mother gave birth to 10 of us. I was the only person working then. I have other ones in high institution, secondary school, and my own children 3 then. All of us, that is the life wire has been cut. We felt bad. One, it wasn't only me. So many of us, and when it happened, there's nothing we can do. Life must go on, goes on. So we move on. Now I am mostly going to farm, and after farming, if I have other business that I want to engage in now, is to enter into agriculture full-time.
According to the International Labour Organization, job losses resulted in an 8.3% decline in global income, with 8.8% of global working hours lost in 2020. While his story may not be any different for Nigerians who have also lost their jobs, the alternative for many is to be self-reliant. At least, that's what Obewo Ogenemano chose to do.
It was the beginning of a new place for me because I had to think outside the box to get things I usually got just from going to work. I turned into my business. I make shawarmas. I cook for a living. So it gave me new ideas on how to work.
According to the National Bureau of Statistics, unemployment rose to 33% as at the fourth quarter of 2020. Only recently, a report by the UNDP and the National Bureau of Statistics pegs job losses as a result of COVID-19 at 20%. These huge gaps, according to them, leaves room for urgent economic policies that will address the effects on families and individuals affected by the job cuts.
These adverse implications on Nigeria's vulnerable population in a complex development setting calls for concerted action to simultaneously mitigate both the health and the socioeconomic implication.
Hopefully, with sound policies and more interventions in various sectors of the economy, the adverse effect of COVID-19 on job losses may experience a decline.
Now to demography outside the labor force. Senior citizens are asking the government to pay more attention to them so they won't lose a sense of belonging. Some of the elderly stated this while benefiting from a medical outreach organized by the National Senior Citizen Center in Abuja. Our correspondent Terry Kumi reports.
According to the United Nations, over the next 3 decades, the number of older persons worldwide is projected to more than double, reaching more than 1.5 billion persons in 2050, and 80% of them will be living in low and middle income countries. The 1st of October is a day set aside to draw attention to the plight of older persons, also known as senior citizens aged 60 years and above. While it may seem that the day has come and gone, the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, in collaboration with the National Senior Citizen Center, has organized a medical outreach for the elderly in Karu Village, Abuja.
Apart from, giving this opportunity for health checks and all, we're also using the opportunity to ask them questions. So we want to ask them specifically on health issues here. And that's why we say, let's go with a medical outreach. So that as they are seeing the doctors and the nurses, they are able to talk about their challenges. Distance to healthcare facility, where there are referrals, how do they convey themselves to, the secondary facilities.
One after the other, the senior citizens are attended to. In May this year, President Muhammadu Buhari approved the takeoff of the National Senior Citizen Center. While these older persons applaud the government for the initiative, they desire more.
If they can continue with this, and then old people we have hope again that they can still live. So we wish that what they said they will do concerning the health issues and the caring for the old, I think the government is doing fine on this issue. If they can be able to comply with whatever they are saying, I love it so much.
The developed countries, there are benefits that the older ones used to have. At times, they used to give them money for upkeep. If government can do such, give them free health care, it will be okay for them. It will be a good thing. I want the government to initiate. I want the government to start doing to the elder ones. There are those people that don't have anybody to take care of them.
The United Nations projects that the second fastest increase in the number of older persons is projected for sub-Saharan Africa, where the population aged 65 or over could grow from 32 million in 2019 to 101 million in 2050. This large number cannot be left behind by the government. Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
Well, it's time for some business news. Here's Teniola Shuboali.
Thanks a lot, Kayode. Welcome to Business News. Aside the unremitted 2.659 trillion naira revenue exported by the Nigeria Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, NEDA, the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit, NFIU, has also uncovered over $5 billion and 700 billion naira not remitted as royalties by oil companies. The NFIU director, Mr. Modibo Tukur, made the revelation at a ceremony where his unit signed a memorandum of understanding with NEDA on recovery of unremitted funds owed the federal government. Mr. Tukur adds that President Muhammadu Buhari has directed the unit to lead the immediate recoveries.
This week, Mr. President has approved officially all the recoveries to be done in this area. And very soon, the Minister of Finance has been directed to institute a recovery panel with EFCC, NEDA, NFIU, FRS, and even NAPIMS and all the others. So we are heading to maximum transparency. And there will be consolidation of data coming from NEDA, from NFIU and other agencies, and there will be very clear reconciliation with the players and those regulated in the sectors. So no more hiding of national revenue. With the effort you put, we have all seen the zeal, but then the results have come. Because you are talking about 2.something trillion unpaid. Then we reported over $5 billion not reported, not paid, even in the area where the players are doing, that's the Niger Delta area. And then over 700 billion naira not paid. And then in some cases, companies even receiving as agents are not even remitting again back to this thing. We are moving to Ministry of Finance, where we are going to sit down, call these companies, and then talk the real issue. Yeah, we have walked the walk. Now it's time to walk the talk. And I mean walk the talk so that the results will come in.
Businesses have been asked to take advantage of the opportunities created by the COVID-19 pandemic by leveraging on digital technology. This is coming from the president of the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, Mr. Mansa Ahmed, at a seminar held in Lagos. He added that the market in Africa is opening up for participation from all member countries.
We are already witnessing the emergence of new ways of organizing our businesses that arises from the imposition of the constraints of COVID through the emergence of new digital and virtual ways of engaging ourselves as well as conducting businesses. I think these are the kind of opportunities that sometimes emerge from challenges. We're also aware of the opportunities that are coming up from the effort by our countries in Africa to integrate, to come together, and to build a stronger, deeper, wider, and more prosperous markets.
Meanwhile, let's find out how forex trading activity ended at the FMDQ exchange this week. The total turnover of transactions carried out at the FX spot, forwards and futures markets decreased by 28.44% week on week to $996.44 million as at October the 8th. A breakdown of the activity at the FMDQ exchange shows that the total value of transactions at the FX spot market also dropped by 1.11% to $677.59 million. However, the Naira rose by 0.04% to 412 Naira 98 kobo against the dollar at the Nigerian Autonomous Foreign Exchange window of the Forex market against the comparative week. In the domestic equities market, bargain hunting in banking stocks was the overarching theme during the week as investors flocked into Tier 1 names ahead of the third quarter 2021 corporate earnings releases. The all-share index advanced by 1.6% week-on-week. As a result, the month-to-date and year-to-date gains increased to 1.6% and 1.5% respectively. However, activity levels were mixed as trading volumes decreased by 1.4% week-on-week, while trading value rose by 34.8%. Sectoral performance closed mostly positive for the week, with the banking index emerging as one of the biggest advances, up by 4.53%. University Press PLC topped the gainers chart for the week. Its share price rose by 28.46%. Cornerstone Insurance PLC, down by 12.07%, led the losers, while the trio of FBN Holdings, Universal Insurance PLC and Fidelity Bank accounted for 1.16 billion shares worth 12.34 billion naira in this week's trading session. And that's business news tonight. I'm Teniola Shubowale. It's back to Kayode for the rest of the news at 10.
Thank you, Tenny. More than 20 people have been reportedly killed by suspected armed bandits that attacked a market at Ongwanlale in Sabombernin local government area of Sokoto State. Sources in the village say several other persons were injured and are currently receiving treatment at the General Hospital in Sabombernin. Others with life-threatening injuries have been taken to the state capital for proper care. The Sokoto State Police Command could not be reached to confirm the attack, as the mobile telephone line of the police public relations officer, Abubakar Sanusi, was not available as at the time of this report. However, former council chairman of Sabomberni local government, Abdullahi Samaye, confirmed the attack to newsmen. He said the assailants came into the market in large numbers and started shooting sporadically, killing over 20 persons, burning down vehicles, and destroyed several other properties. Quite interesting stories coming out of the world of sports today. Kayode Alayade has the details.
Welcome to Sports News. 3-3 Export Lager Beer has expressed their absolute confidence in the Super Eagles as they continued their quest for a 7th FIFA World Cup appearance. The brand selected 33 passionate fans to connect with their favorite stars in Lagos.
Nigeria Breweries PLC rekindles its belief in the Super Eagles of Nigeria in the campaign to qualify for next year's FIFA World Cup in Qatar. The company, through its brand 3-3 Export, the official beer of the team, organizes a dinner for the players and officials. 3-3 Export presents a check of 1 million naira to Super Eagles forward Kelechi Iheanacho for emerging the man of the match in the game against Liberia in September.
3-3 Export Lager Beer is all about bonds and connections and breaking barriers. And you know what football is to Nigeria. Football is life. Football is a religion for us. It's about connecting every single tribe within Nigeria. So it's all about connection, but 3-3 Export Lager Beer and football.
Nobody talk about you, and you are nobody. 3-3 Export says it has not only focused on the team, but treated with great esteem the fans who are fondly referred to as the 12th player in every match.
This party is really about, celebrating our shared passion, as the official beer of the Super Eagles, and we understand that football is something that, everybody connects to. So it is for us just, after the game, win or lose, whatever the occasion is, whatever the situation is, come together and then let's all have fun. So it is 3-3 Export in its own way of showing that it's about bringing people together, celebrating shared passion, shared values, and shared interests. So this is for us a big night, and as a brand that's about bonding, about connections, this football is what we activate so that we celebrate the shared passion and the shared love we have for football. So it's a big night for us, and that we'll continue to identify with the core motivations, the core aspirations of the football lovers and fans all over the world as they love this game and they follow their game they love.
Popular musician MI provides an eclectic atmosphere at the dinner.
Meanwhile, the Super Eagles coach Gernot Rohr has charged the team to beat Central African Republic after a woeful performance at the Teslim Balogun Stadium on Thursday. The Super Eagles suffered a shock 1-0 defeat in Lagos to end their 100% starts to the World Cup qualifiers. The Super Eagles held a light training session at the Japoma Stadium in Douala, Cameroon, ahead of the game on Sunday. Rohr says there would be slight changes to the team that featured in the defeat in Lagos. And the Nigeria Football Federation, NFF, has confirmed that Super Eagles coach Gernot Rohr has received 5 months of his 8-month salaries from its partners ITO. NFF President Amaju Pinnick says that Rohr's assistants, Aloy Agu and Joseph Yobo, have also received their salaries. The NFF has given assurances that the outstanding salaries of the coaches will be sorted out in 3 weeks' time. And Adrien Rabiot has been ruled out of the Nations League final following a positive COVID-19 test. The Juventus midfielder played 75 minutes of France's win over Belgium in the semi-finals on Thursday, but will not be available for Sunday's final with Spain after returning a positive result. The France Football Federation confirmed that coach Didier Deschamps is prevented from calling up a replacement, so he will have 21 players to select from for the final at the San Siro Stadium. Rabiot has established himself as a key player for Deschamps with the win over Belgium during his 21st appearance with the national side. And that'll be all on Sports News. Is back to Kaide for the rest of the news at 10.
Thank you, Kaide. More than 50 people have died and more are believed to be missing following the capsizing of a makeshift vessel on the Congo River. According to provincial authorities in the Democratic Republic of Congo, 51 bodies had been recovered by late Friday from the boats that sank during the night of Monday and Tuesday. 39 people were rescued and almost 70 are believed to be missing. Provincial authorities have declared 3 days of mourning from Monday. Boat accidents are common in the vast mineral-rich country because vessels are often overloaded with passengers and cargo. Most of the passengers traveling on vessels also often do not wear life jackets. And Austria's Chancellor Sebastian Kurz has stepped down after pressure triggered by a corruption scandal. He has proposed Foreign Minister Alexander Schallenberg as his replacement. Mr. Kurz and 9 others were placed under investigation after raids at a number of locations linked to his Conservative People's Party. He denies claims he used government money to ensure positive coverage in a tabloid newspaper. Mr. Kurz became leader of the OVP in May 2017 and led his party to victory in elections later that year, becoming, at the age of 31, one of the world's youngest ever democratically elected head of government. And U.S. officials have met Afghanistan's ruling Taliban officials for their first face-to-face talks since Washington pulled its troops from the country in August. Officials say the talks in Qatar are focusing on issues including containing extremist groups, the evacuation of U.S. citizens, and humanitarian aid. The U.S. insists the meeting does not amount to recognition of the Taliban. Speaking after the talks with the U.S. opened in Qatar, Afghanistan's Taliban-appointed Foreign Minister Amir Muttaqi said the two sides had agreed to uphold the terms of the Doha Agreement, which was signed in 2020. The talks come a day after Afghanistan suffered its deadliest attack since U.S. forces withdrew. The suicide bombing at a mosque in the northern city of Kunduz killed at least 50 people and wounded more than 100 others. And the main news again. Former chairman of INEC, Professor Tahiru Jega, today took a swipe at the National Assembly for prohibiting the use of technology in elections, especially as it concerns e-voting and transmission of results. He also accused the dominant political parties of leading Nigeria astray. Also today, the president reaffirmed his administration's commitment to tackle insecurity, and he challenged new military officers on professionalism. He spoke at the passing out parade of the officers in Katsina. And Austria's Chancellor Sebastian Kurz resigned today following pressure over a corruption scandal, but he denies the claims that he used government money. And that's the news at 10. Thank you for watching. I'm Kayode Okikelu. Good night.